Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 1 of What If Naruto is Raised by an Evil Spirit. If you guys enjoyed this what if, then comment, like and subscribe. Let's go. Also, the video goal is 10 likes. So, let me know that you're interested in the series and you want the next part. Then go ahead and check out the other what ifs in the channel. Before we start, please do support for more awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and also share the video with your friends and link in the description. So, let's go. Years ago before the great shinobi era, its current era is the Sage of the Six Paths. There was a shrine maiden named Lady Aoi who was a beautiful woman and shrine maiden of a small eastern village. She was the strongest maiden in that village. Unknown to her that the village she is protecting feared her power for obvious reasons, worried that she could use her powers on them. Even her own household and family feared her power. 1 month later the village was attacked by a great snake. The villagers pleaded for Aoi to protect them from the giant snake. She willingly went to face the snake to protect the village she cared for. She mustered all of her strength and courage to defeat the snake by weakening its lower half body. The snake still lived in the village, seeing no other choice or option for victory but to approach the snake, and offered Lady Aoi to the snake for a sacrifice in return of the village's safety. Shocked, betrayed and confused Lady Aoi was, as the villagers cut off her arms watching the snake swallow her alive. It was at this very moment she discovered the village and her household had planned this, fearing her power more than anything. Emotions ran through her, and these emotions were anger, shock, betrayal and sadness, lashing out, wanting to curse the villagers she sworn to protect, but an idea came to her and she had her own victory. She placed a powerful curse on herself to become and live as the snake she bested in battle. Several days later, with the lower half of the snake's body, she went on a bloody massacre on the village who conspired against her. She murdered everyone including her own household. The villagers pleaded and begged for mercy or to be spared, but she ignored their pleas and still slaughtered them like cattle. After the purge was over, she took an arm of each who betrayed her, mainly her household family members. Having 6 arms after she had gotten her revenge, she disappeared into the deep forests and secluded herself there to control her bloodlust. Months later, rumors have been going on about the 6-armed snake Lady Kankandara, warning travelers to never venture off in the deep forest should Kankandara attack them. Those who fell prey to Kankandara were never seen again. Every time a traveler wanders in the forest, and if they wander too deep in the forest at night, Kankandara makes a sound that goes, "Chirini." If that sound is heard, that means Kankandara is near, hiding in the shadows of the dark forest, or up in the trees, or even in caves and in bushes. That sound echoed as if she was everywhere in the forest, as a chill can run down your spine from hearing the same chant, "Chirini." In the shadows her snake-like iris can stare into your soul, making you freeze in place, and her grinning face should she reveal herself, with her bare chest revealed with her 6 arms. Most would be frightened at the sight of her as she coils her snake body around your body, squeezing you like an anaconda, making you stare into her terrifying face, an expression that is enough to send you in shock, rendering you passed out. Once you are passed out, she drags you to her lair that is in the deepest section of the forest that is most likely forbidden. Once you are in her lair, you are unable to move. Now, why can't you move? Because she either bit you with her snake fangs, injecting her venom that freezes your blood, paralyzed your muscles and joints, preventing you from moving or to escape from her. You lay there helplessly frozen like a stiff statue as you see her slither towards you, just grinning at you until you die. Since her venom can be twice as deadly as a Jorogumo spider's venom. Time skip. For 18 years, untouched by time itself, it seemed Kankandara had lived in her forest, unaware of what has changed. She still kills her victims who venture into the forests of death, as many has called it. And why was it called that? Because deep in the dark forests was where Kankandara lived. Even the animals and beasts who lived in the forests of death feared Kankandara. She not only preys on humans but animals too. Months later, she had been recently killing kids who wore headbands with leaf mark insignias on them. Every year she has killed children who had been doing some sort of trial that she did not understand. The higher authorities who owned the forest of death that was like part of their village were forced to close their chunin exams for the safety of the village's children. Senju Hashirama, Tobirama, Mito Uzumaki and Madara Uchiha had to get to the bottom of this and put a stop to this monster. The 4 legendary shinobi ventured into the forest of death to stop this monster once and for all. In truth, they encountered Kankandara and had a look of fear when they saw her. She attacked the 4 shinobi with all of her might. She even used her physical shrine maiden powers against them. The only one who was able to subdue her was Senju Hachishirama, using his wood style to strap her against a very big tree, using all of his wood to restrain her, while Mito Uzumaki placed a seal on the tree and on Kankandara, sending the six-armed snake woman into a deep sleep for eternity, while Madara pinned the woman's arms with kunais as wood tentacles wrapped themselves on her arms and her whole snake body and torso. The wood kept her attached on the tree as she went into her deep sleep. Not knowing what to do with her, they thought of leaving her there to slumber, hoping in the future that no one wouldn't wake her. Years later, as of today, there was peace and that the Chunin exams resumed and that Kankandara was still in her slumber. However, even in her slumber the forest became a little cursed. Konoha timeskip. 6 years after the Kyuubi attack, a 6-year-old Naruto crawled through the hole in the chain-link fence that was connected to the Forest of Death. Now why little Naruto was going through there? Because the whiskered blue-eyed boy was running for his life from a mob of villagers and shinobi who were drunk and angry as they prepared to attack him on the Kyuubi festival every year. He was born on the day of the Kyuubi attack and he wondered why everyone is trying to kill him. Within mere minutes he had ran faster, heading deep into the forest, hiding behind a tree, looking over to make sure no one wasn't following him. Seeing he wasn't followed, he sighed in relief as he was glad that the shinobi couldn't chase him in the forest, since they had to get permission from the Hokage to go in the forest. Walking a little deeper in the forest, he laid up against a big tree taking a breather. He felt the wind blew cold air as he started making a fire. Unaware to Naruto, he wasn't aware of what was on the giant tree that he was laid against. Now feeling a little warmer from the fire, he picked up a small stick, was playing with fire before waving the stick of fire as small sparks of the flame touched the tree he was laying up against. For a minute he had swore he smelled burned paper. Turning away holding the fire stick, his eyes widened in shock at what he saw on the tree. He saw a woman with her lower body as a snake and she has 6 arms and she was topless and she looked to be asleep. Turning his attention on the burning paper, he realized he burned some seals. He shivered looking at her as the wind blew again, putting out his fire stick. The woman on the tree, to his surprise, snapped opened her eyes, scaring him as she hissed of that of a snake waking up from her long slumber. Her yellow eyes narrowed dangerously. "I live again," she yelled in her angry tone as all Naruto could do was look at her in shock and fear. To think that damn Senju, Uchiha and Uzumaki would use their skills to defeat me. The Shrine Maiden Aoi-sama, she yelled, trying to get out of these tree branch bindings, but realized her arms were useless again. Because there was kunais embedded into her arms joint points, disabling her. That son of a bitch. The Uchiha used his kunais to disable my arms. I can't move them. I'm just stuck to this tree. Kankandara said, firming in anger, not noticing Naruto. Looking around, she could tell that she was still in her domain, the Forest of Death. Finally looking down, she noticed a strange blonde boy. Hello, spoke Naruto weakly as she shivered at her gaze. Looking over him, she could tell that he was a human boy, looking at him with an amused expression. If she couldn't break free, then maybe she could get this human boy to free her. She grinned a ear-to-ear smile. Dear boy, would you be so kind to free me from this tree? My arms are useless, I will need some new ones, she asked kindly, looking at him as he flinched, thinking if this should be a good idea to free her. She frowned, seeing he was hesitant in freeing her from this tree. She could feel fear within this boy. Please, dear boy, come forth to me, I mean you no harm. Free me from this tree, she spoke rather nicely, hoping to gain his trust and hoped he would free her. Listening to her and her tone, he walked up on the tree, unaware of her smile as he climbed up on the tree, removing all of the kunai off her arms, tossing them away as they rusted to dust when they hit the ground. Her arms hung as he looked shocked at how can a woman like herself have 6 arms. He then looked up at her exposed chest area, blushing, looking away. She noticed this and grinned, seeing that he was looking at her chest area. Using another stick, lighting it on fire, putting it on the tree vines that held Kankandara in place, burning them off her. She broke free from the wood vines and coiled herself around Naruto, shocking him. I must thank you, dear boy. In return of my gratitude, you will come with me and stay with me. She spoke with him, widening his eyes as he went pale. She slithered off into the dark pits of the Forest of Death, heading for her lair, hoping it was still intact and wasn't touched by anyone. Deep in the dark forests of death, Kankandara slithered all the way into her territory in the forbidden section of the Forest of Death. Naruto was still held around her snake body, frightened of what this woman could do as he looked up around this forest, which scared him. The forest was dark, gloomy, with the aura of death itself, dead trees with no life. The ground itself is hard and pale with the grass dying. You could hear wolves howling from a far distance. There were disturbing disfigured animals and creatures hiding in the darkness of the forest, knowing that Kankandara has awakened, and yet they still feared her. Kankandara finally reached to her destination as she stared deep into her cave, her lair. Narrowing her eyes, she slithered inside her cave carrying Naruto, using her body since her arms were useless. Inside her cave were spider webs all around, skeletons of dead animals she killed and skeletons of genins with their remains and headbands pilled up. Naruto could only pale in fear looking at the skeletal remains of the genins who were killed by Kankandara. "Welcome to my lair, boy, this is where you will spend the rest of your life here," she said, finally dropping him on the ground as she slithered over to her stone slab and laid down, seething a little at the fact her arms were useless and that she needed new ones, and she needed them now. Naruto was shaking looking at her and around her cave. Turning to him, she frowned slightly, seeing he was a little afraid of her still, though it didn't surprise her. "Well, young boy, tell me, who are you?" she said, staring at him with her yellow eyes. Naruto. "You Uzumaki," he spoke, seeing her twitch and look at him with wide eyes. "Uzumaki." She spoke with little confusion. She found it hard to believe that another Uzumaki was here. She remembered her encounter with Mido Uzumaki but had no idea that there was another Uzumaki. And this boy was a Uzumaki. She could even smell the blood, but her enhanced senses went tense. She could had swore she smelled the scent of a fox. Naruto nodded. "Tell me, young Uzumaki, do you happen to know if Mido Uzumaki is still alive?" Kankandara spoke, hoping to see if the Uzumaki woman was alive so that she could kill her for putting her to sleep. But to her surprise, Naruto looked confused and was thinking, "Mido Uzumaki. There was another Uzumaki." He spoke, really lost. Seeing Kankandara's scowl, he flinched. "Don't play dumb with me, brat. I know Mido Uzumaki is alive. And you are related to her. So tell me the truth or I'll bite you," she threatened, baring her snake fangs, with Naruto backing away. I don't know who she is. Honest. I never known anyone who was a Uzumaki," he said, looking away from her as she paused a little, staring at him with a brow raised. "What do you mean? You've got to know if you had any family under the Uzumaki name," she said with a frown as she noticed he has tears in his eyes. "I don't have any family," he spoke. As soon as he said that, her eyes widened in disbelief. She needed to replay that in her head. He had no family. "No family? Are you telling me that you're an orphan?" she asked with her attention on him as he nodded. "Yes, I don't have any family. I was kicked out of the orphanage yesterday night and had to live alone on the streets," he spoke, looking away. Now this caught her full attention. Why would a human kick out a 6-year-old boy out of the orphanage and he was forced to live on his own in the streets? She never knew what were streets due to her living in the forest for decades. "Tell me why. Why were you kicked out? You seem like a nice young boy," she spoke. He sighed, explaining his hard life to her, telling her why he was hated in his village. Kankandara hissed angrily after she heard of his life story, at how he was hated and was abused. Now she had a skeptical look when he told her they call him a demon boy, or monster. He didn't look like a monster, he looked completely normal to her, but she still smelled the scent of a fox on this boy. It seemed like she might need to get to know a little more about Naruto and this little backstory of his. "Tell me, young Uzumaki, what are your dreams?" Kankandara asked. "Being a great shinobi. I want to be Hokage," he spoke, seeing her frown lightly. "Since you're living with me, you will address me as Kankandara-sama or Aoi-sama, but for the time being I need new arms. There is something I need to do concerning you," she said, seeing him nod. "I understand, Aoi-sama," he said, looking at his new master, or mother figure. "Even though I have slept all these years, I need to rest again, but when it's morning I need you to bring me new arms," she said, seeing him flinch. "Aoi-sama, how can I bring you new arms?" he spoke shyly, seeing her eyebrow twitch. "Lure one of those villagers or shinobi here and I will do the rest, because I need new arms. I'm currently powerless without my arms," Kankandara said as she started closing her eyes, with Naruto coming towards her and laid up against her snake body as it coiled around him, keeping him warm. Peeking her eye at him, she saw Naruto was fast asleep. She was going to get to the bottom of this, and it seemed like she had to come out of this forest and see the outside world, but how? Since she needed to disguise her true form, she had a lot to think about. Morning. In Kankandara's cave, she stirred in her sleep, as she opened her snake-like iris eyes, looking around as she yawned and stretched out her arms. Wait a minute. Her arms. looking shocked that her 6 arms were restored, but how? Looking down at the sleeping Naruto that she had coiled with her lower snake body. She had a feeling, did he have something to do with it? As the woman flexed her arms and smiled as she looked at him. "Wake up, Naruto," said Kankandara, using the tip of her snake tail to poke his face, stirring him out his sleep. He said groggily, coming out of his sleep, looking up at Kankandara, and was shocked that her arms were moving again. Kankandara looked at Naruto. She raised one hand up, directing it to Naruto as she used her spiritual shrine maiden powers, as her said powers detected a great source of power from Naruto. Widened her eyes in amazement at how much power this boy has. Did this said power of chakra somehow restored her arms? She knew this boy was somewhat special and she could use that. She wondered how was she going to get out of this forest in a disguise. She knew if she slithered in the village would see her true form. His stomach growled, which caught her attention. "Hungry, Naruto?" she asked, seeing him nod. "Yes, I could go for some ramen," he said, seeing her confused expression, not understanding what ramen was. "What is ramen?" she asked. She never heard of it, due to being asleep so long, and has never set foot into the outside world before she turned herself into a monster snake woman. "Noodles. You should try them, Aoi-sama," he said, looking at her. She frowned as she turned towards the entrance of the cave. "Stay here, I'm going to hunt, and bring you some food," she said, slithering out of the cave, leaving Naruto alone as the boy huddled near her stone slab bed. Naruto wondered if this was a good idea to stay with a snake lady with 6 arms. Not that he wasn't complaining, he was a little terrified of her, but also noticed she was getting to be a little nicer towards him. Wandering around her cave, he could see the place didn't just have corpses and remains, but also had picture paintings, a small jewelry box. Then he noticed some scrolls in a basket, not wanting to touch them. Also saw books, her staff with 6 rings. Next to the staff were 6 samurai swords. From the left he saw potions and other remedies. He wondered, was she human before? He turned to a picture of her in her human form. He saw her wearing a traditional shrine maiden robe, long ebony-colored hair and dark yellow eyes, wearing a necklace. She looked beautiful. He wondered what made her become what she is now. Putting his hand up against the picture of her. "Don't touch that," boomed her voice as he flinched, seeing her angry glare. "So sorry." He stepped back, noticing she was dragging a dead tiger and a big fish. Calming down, remembering he's just a child, and that he had lived a hard life, she just didn't want him to touch her old picture, which brought back the time she was betrayed by her former village and household family. Those were memories she didn't like remembering, how they betrayed her for the interest of the village and made her become the very snake she bested in battle and lost her humanity out of revenge. Making some fire to cook the fish, as she slithered over to the right side of the cave, eating the tiger's flesh. "Your food will be ready in 50 minutes. Give it time to roast in the fire," she said, seeing him nod. "Aoi-sama," he said, looking at her. "Yes," she said, taking a bite out of the tiger. "What made you, what you are?" he asked, seeing her turn to him with her snake-like iris eyes narrowed. "Fine, since you're going to be living with me, it's time I tell you my story of how I became this," she said with a sigh. Hokage office. Still no sign of Naruto. "Where the hell are the Anbu guards I ordered to look after Naruto last night?" "Hiruzen the Sandaime Hokage said, glaring at his Anbu weasel, Neko and Snake. "We have no clue, Hokage-sama. It seems they abandoned their position to look after Naruto-san when the mob attacked him," spoke the monotone voice of Weasel as the Sandaime scowled. "Weasel and Snake, you two find Naruto, search high and low for him. Neko, find the Anbu squad I ordered to keep a watch on Naruto and bring them to my office. If they refuse, you have my permission to put them to death," said the angry professor as the 3 nodded and left to do what he commanded. The old Kage sighed, face-palming when he noticed Naruto was chased off. He commanded Neko's team to arrest those in the mob and send them to Ibiki for punishment. He prayed to Kami that the boy was found, and very much alive. Kankandara's cave. Slithering up on her stone slab bed, eating the rest of her meal of a dead tiger as Naruto looked up at her eating some of his roasted fish she cooked for him. "So you want to know why I look this? Why I have the body of a snake? And why I have 6 arms? I'll tell you about my origin, Naruto," she said grimly as he watched, looking at her. "It all started when I was a shrine maiden. I was very beautiful and attractive back then. I was the shrine maiden that was protecting my village." She began looking away. I loved my village, and cared for the villagers I've sworn to protect from monsters. But I was foolish in not realizing the villagers' fear for me and my power. A giant snake attacked my village and I fought it. Before I could finish it off for good, the villagers turned on me and gave me to the snake as a sacrifice," she said, scowling and hissing. Naruto winced seeing her expression as he listened more about her tale. "I was not expecting their sudden betrayal. It was then that I realized they planned this. I couldn't believe they would betray me, fearing my power more than anything. Before the snake could swallow me alive, they cut off my real arms," she said, gritting her teeth as she remembered that flashback. Naruto looked horrified. He wondered, would his own village do him like they did to her? "I wanted nothing more than to lash out and curse the villagers for their sudden betrayal, but I learned that I had a revenge of my own. I placed a powerful curse on myself to become the snake that I defeated in battle. Several days ago the curse worked, my lower half became the body of a snake. I went to earn my vengeance and killed every last villager who conspired against me, including those who lived in my household. I spared no life. I took an arm of each of who betrayed me. After I finished killing everyone, I vanished into this very forest that I call home," said Kankandara with her eyes closed. Naruto looked shocked. He wondered, would the village do him like they did her? Would his Hokage Jiji betray him? The snake lady looked at him, noticing his expression, and could tell that it was bothering him. "So young Uzumaki, you go to academy?" she asked. "Well, Hokage Jiji said he planned on putting me in the academy so I can learn what it means to be a shinobi," he said, seeing her frown. She closed her eyes, thinking, would it be a good idea to let him go? She wanted to keep him here, but she couldn't risk those shinobis coming in her forest looking for him. Plus he needed to know education, which is important for a child. Besides, she wondered if he could learn any ninjutsu or something useful to disguise herself so she could step foot into the village herself. She smiled and wondered, could this work? But maybe she could also teach him a few things she's learned before becoming a monster snake. "Very well, I've come to a new decision, young Uzumaki. I will let you go back to your village," she said, seeing him widened his eyes. "Why?" he replied. "Because, I want you to learn a few things for me. Besides, education is important if you wish to be a shinobi. I also want you coming into my cave and tell me what you've learned," she said in a matter-of-fact tone. "Go now, Naruto. Return to the village and learn what you can for me," she said, seeing him get up and leave out her cave, but she spoke again, watching him stop and turn to him. "Oh, and Naruto," she said. "Yes, Aoi-sama," he said. "Don't tell anyone of my existence, keep it a secret, and whenever you're out of the academy, come to me before sundown and don't let no one follow you. Is that understood?" she said, seeing him nod. "Good, now go," she said, seeing him leave the cave. While she turned to the darkest pit of her cave, slithering towards it, she saw a snake statue and began speaking in a foreign snake language. The statue started cracking and revealing a white small snake with red eyes as it slithered out of its statue. "Kankandara-sama," spoke the white snake with a female voice. "Shirohabi, I have a job for you to do," she said. "What is your bidding, my mistress?" Shiro said, looking up at her mistress. "Follow the boy named Naruto Uzumaki. He left my cave, and keep watch on him. You're my eyes to look out for him. Is that understood?" she said sternly. "Yes, mistress. I will do as you commanded," Shiro said, slithering off to follow Naruto, leaving Kankandara. Konoha. Half-day later, Naruto Uzumaki was found and brought back safely in the village with Snake and Weasel. The Hokage was pleased and glad that Naruto was safe from harm. Naruto hadn't said a word, keeping his promise to Kankandara, fearing she would kill him, but wavered it off, seeing in a day he would be sent to the academy. Currently at the ramen stand eating, he was unaware that a small white snake was in the shadows of the alleyway watching him with red glowing eyes. Shinobi Academy. Still a bit shaken up and still hasn't said a word about Kankandara. He was busy looking out the window. For some reason he felt like he was being watched but couldn't put his finger on it. In a small mouse hole in the classroom, Shirohabi was watching Naruto with her glowing red eyes, still following her mistress' commands, and that was to watch Naruto. Kankandara's lair. Watching from her crystal ball, she monitored Naruto from Shirohabi's eyes until she finds a way to disguise herself as a human. She will set foot in the village, learn her surroundings, but the Forest of Death has always been her home for many years and she never leaves it. Maybe it was time to adjust to new things and learn more about this shinobi era she's in. She will have to make some arrangements for Naruto since she took him under her wing. Back with Naruto. It was now the end of the academy. Naruto was told to see Kankandara at the end of the day. But he decided to get some ramen first before he goes. Though he was unaware that the white snake Shirohube was following him. Hokage office. Hiruzen was watching Naruto from his crystal ball. He noticed Naruto has been acting a bit strange after he came back from the Forest of Death, and the boy never told him what was wrong. He had a strong suspicion that Naruto saw something in the Forest of Death that disturbed him. Looking into his crystal ball closely, he saw a white snake follow Naruto that made his eyes narrow a bit. Did Anko let loose one of her snakes? Orochimaru wouldn't sneak in the village. Slug. Turtle. Keep an eye on Naruto. He commanded his Anbu as they left the office and carried out their orders. He prayed that white snake didn't belong to Orochimaru. What did his old student want with Naruto? Naruto. Seeing the sun going down, he knew it was time to go see Kankandara. As he walked towards the entrance of the Forest of Death, unaware two Anbus following him. Shirohube, who saw the Anbu follow him, immediately alerted her mistress. Kankandara had already left her lair and to kill those Anbu. Going deeper and deeper to the Forest of Death, which is where Kankandara's lair is. The two Anbu were in the trees and followed him and were about to jump down and stop him, but heard a sound they never heard before. Chirini. What the gook? Said Turtle, but was caught by the neck by a snake tail strangling him. Turtle. Shouted Slug, reaching for his tanto to free his comrade, only for Kankandara to finally make her appearance and bared her snake fangs, biting him on the neck. He screamed when she bit him. She used all her 6 arms to rip him like paper as blood splattered, covering the trees and bushes with blood. As for Turtle, he was blue, due to him being strangled, so she tossed him aside from her tail and slithered down to meet Naruto. Naruto wasn't aware of what happened as he entered in her cave. She slithered in after him, surprising him. Hello Naruto-kun, she said, shocking him. Hi Kankandara-sama, he said, shocked as he saw she was covered in blood. Don't worry about the blood, I was out hunting, she said, looking at him, noticing he was looking at her body covered in blood. So tell me what you learned, she asked kindly, looking at him. Later on that night, sleeping soundly under her lower snake body, Kankandara's ears perked up when she heard something outside her cave. Slithering softly, she laid Naruto down on her stone slab without waking him up. She slithered looking into the trees. She saw more of these Anbu with blank masks. Hissing, she went up in the trees to kill them. The hell is that? Shouted a Root Anbu captain as he and his squad were unprepared for what they saw. Basilisk glare, she shouted as her eyes glowed bright golden as the Root captain and 4 of his men instantly died. 2 Root Anbu attempted to throw kunais with explosive tags on them, only for Kankandara to turn around and spat out acidic venom that melted through them. 1 Root Anbu tried to lunge at her, only to get crushed flat by her tail. Then she lunged at the last Root Anbu and bit him on the neck before ripping off his head. Seeing that the carnage was over, she slithered back in her cave but had to clean herself off since she was covered in blood. She grew tired of these Anbu trying to sneak to her location. Tomorrow she decided to set up a barrier to close off the darkest part of the Forest of Death so no one but her and Naruto can pass through it. Forest of Death. Just as she promised, she created a seal paper and added a drop of hers and Naruto's blood to successfully create a barrier. She couldn't allow those Anbu coming to her dark, forbidden side of the Forest of Death, which is most likely her territory. Now seeing him awake, she turned her servant Shirohube into a necklace, a snake-like necklace, and put it around his neck so that way she could see all of what's going on from her crystal ball. She knows he has to go to the academy. Seeing him all awake, she tells him, "Time for you to head to the academy, young Uzumaki, learn you can. The necklace is something I want you to wear. I will tell you a little secret once you return by sundown," she said, seeing him look at the snake-like necklace, then looked up at her, nodding as he went on his way to the academy. While he left, she went to go set up the barrier, placing it on a dead tree as it activated, creating a giant white invisible barrier. Nothing can break her barrier, not even a seal's master can bypass her barrier. Smiling, she decided to return to her cave. She dared those Anbu or shinobis to try getting through her barrier. Hokage Tower. It was the afternoon as he waited and waited for his Anbu to return with Naruto. He waited for them yesterday and they haven't returned. Something was not right. He headed over to his crystal ball and saw that Naruto looked safe and sound at the academy. Frowning, he wondered why didn't his Anbu return and report to him about the white snake and Naruto. Something was definitely not right and he felt like he needs to see Naruto and ask him what did he see in the forest of death and why is a white snake following him. Neko. He called out. Yes, Hokage-sama, she said. In an hour I want you to bring Naruto to me. He commanded as she nodded then left. With Naruto. An hour passed as the academy is over before he could try getting some ramen. Neko had appeared beside him. Naruto-san, Hokage-sama would like to see you, she said as he looked up at her taking her hand as she led him back to the Hokage tower. Little did they know the snake necklace red eyes gleamed. Kankandara's lair. She watched from her crystal ball seeing the Anbu with a cat mask was taking him to this Hokage. There's another Hokage. Well, she has an opportunity to see what this Hokage is like. Hokage tower. Sitting at his desk he eyed the boy who is sitting across from him. Naruto, how are you doing? He asked smoking his pipe. I'm doing fine, Ji-san. Why ask? He asked back. Naruto, I'm only going to ask once, in the forest of death did you see anything? He said seriously as the boy remained silent, not sure what to tell him. No. Naruto replied seeing Hiruzen raise a brow. Are you sure? You didn't see anything at all in the forest? He questioned. Kankandara's lair. She hissed loudly already not liking the Sandaime Hokage he's trying to make Naruto reveal her. Hokage office. No. The boy lied keeping his promise to Lady Aoi to not reveal her. Hiruzen eyed the boy searching to see if the boy was lying but couldn't see through it. Another question, can I ask Naruto? He asked. Yes. He answered. Have you seen any loose snakes? Following you? He asked seeing Naruto shake his head. Snakes? I haven't seen any snakes, Ji-san. Naruto said with the Hokage frown a bit rubbing his chin. Well, I just wanted to make sure if you were okay, Naruto. I noticed a few days ago you haven't been acting like yourself usually. He said in concern. I'm fine, Ji-san, he said. The Sandaime continued to watch as he closed his eyes sighing. Very well, Naruto, that was all I wanted to know, he said seeing the boy get up. So I can go? He asked as the old man nodded. He watched the boy leave his office yet he still don't know why this was bothering him. Neko, he called out as she appeared besides him. Yes, Hokage-sama, she asked. Locate Turtle and Slug, they haven't reported back to me. I want you, Anko and a squad of Anbu to check the Forest of Death. There's something in there and whatever it is Naruto won't tell me about. He commanded seeing her nod. As you wish, Hokage-sama, she said going to do as told. He frowned after she left. He had a feeling in his gut that Naruto saw something in that forest and is afraid to tell him about it. Kankandara's lair. It seems that she's going to have to be more careful about this third Hokage. She can't risk Naruto being under his watch like that. She needs to disguise herself as a human as quickly as possible so she can be around Naruto more and claim him. There was something she didn't like about the Sandaime and whatever it was she was going to find out. Coiling her snake body, she decided to wait for Naruto at sundown and reveal Shirohabi to him. Thanks for your listening. I do hope you enjoy. If you guys enjoyed and you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below and turn on the bell notifications. And also check out the other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.